On impact, that tip will just disappear. It creates very deep penetration. It will have full penetration through an elephant in the hunting scenario, shooting animals with match bullet.
Hi guys, so we are here at the Axe Bullets Varkhard shooting competition, and we are going to ask the owner and founder of Axe Bullets, Francois over here, a couple of questions about his products and what he thinks about it and where it all originates from. So, Francois, let's start with the first question. Before we get into the technical side of it, how did Axe Bullets start? And what made you decide South Africa needed its own monolithic bullet?
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for the opportunity and welcome here at the Axe Bullets Varkhard competition. So it originally started through actually a COVID project during the lockdown period.
Yes.
And what happened was I was struggling to find the specific bullets. That's an American brand, very popular. And it also became very expensive. So I had a bit of time since it was a lockdown, and through having my own engineering company and so on, we had certain software and development software that I could play with, and I designed some concepts, but that only kind of like dropped me into this rabbit hole of also a big love of mine is physics and engineering and concepts and research. So it became a 2-year research just for my own kind of like curiosity of what can be done with the monolithic bullet. So it wasn't really that South Africa needed a new bullet or a new bullet company on the market. It was more about, okay, let's see what can be done. And since then, it's been a real interesting journey on finding certain concepts and applying it to our design and delivering the results that we are getting at the moment.
All right, thank you very much for that, Francois. We are going to go on to the next question. You've described Axe as a match-grade monolithic bullet that can deliver world-class hunting performance. What makes monolithic bullets match-grade?
So to begin the journey of finding something that's match-grade, you need to look at what other companies have done and successes that they have achieved, and see how you can apply certain concepts. And it was all just, trial and error until we found what we perceive to be a match-grade monolithic bullet. So as we all know, monolithic bullets is made out of a monometal. So it's either copper or brass, and it's got pros and cons. So some of the cons to it is that there's no lead core or lead inside the bullet. That lead is a very high SI, a very high density and weight to it. So you can get quite a decent amount of weight into a specific length of bullet. And depending on your barrel twist, you can only get a specific length of bullet to stabilize out of your barrel. It's got nothing to do with weight. It's got to do with the length of the bullet. So if a specific barrel can only stabilize a length of bullet this long, you're only limited to the weight that copper or brass can give you in this length.
What have you got here now?
This is a brass 308, I think 168 bullet, one of our
308, 160 grains.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do brass and copper options that we can elaborate on later. But if you had a lead core bullet in this length and in the exact same shape, you can probably get about 10 to 15 grains of weight more. So what that enhances ballistic coefficient and so on. So there's other concepts that we have applied that increases the ballistic coefficient while optimizing the length of the bullet that we have to work with the most popular twist. There's also different weights available in the bullet in different calibers, and it also requires different barrel twists to stabilize it. So a minimum barrel twist So if your barrel stabilizes a long bullet, you can stabilize everything shorter. But if you can only stabilize this length of bullet, you cannot go any heavier. So that limits you to certain calibers that we can elaborate on. There's certain calibers that's got just a barrel twist from whenever it was designed that just stabilizes any bullet up to a very heavy bullet, and other barrel twists on certain calibers that traditionally was a very slow twist. For instance, like 243s and so on, most came with a 1 in 10 twist, where the new 6mm Creedmoors and arcs and those kind of things, they come with the 1 in 8 twist, so you can stabilize a much heavier bullet.
Okay, Francois, so with all that information, what makes it match grade?
Thanks for the question. So in our opinion, match grade means a very high tolerance on certain concepts of the bullets. So, for instance, diameter tolerances, weight tolerances, and ogive tolerances, and so forth. Also, how you can repeat something. So in one of the articles that I will share with you, I talk about how accuracy is the repeatability, consistency of ballistics. So how do you repeat something? Even if everything is not always exactly right, you make that mistake consistently, it will add in accuracy. And our accuracy is the repeatability of consistency. So in our bullets, we have a high focus on consistencies, on just the normal manufacturing procedures, the weight tolerances and so forth. What we've also applied to the design on the Spitzer bullets is that we have a hybrid ogive design. So a hybrid ogive is a secant ogive, the hybrid concept. So the beginning of the bullet is quite a straight wall here, so that it makes it more aerodynamic. What we've also done is on the ballistic tip in the front, the angle of the cut.
I'll throw in a nice little photo, close-up photo for you guys on that.
The angle of the cut is more enhanced on the front tip of the bullet. So what that achieves, in theory, is that it deflects air around the bullet so that the rest of your bullet basically flies through cleaner.
So it kind of creates, the air goes like this, and it creates a vacuum on this side. So your bullet flies almost in a vacuum.
So it's a theory. There's many other theories. There's other bullets on the market where they cut a little ring around the tip over here. And certain brands also believe in a little hollow point in the front to create the same kind of vacuum, creating less disturbance around the pressure relief grooves and so forth, so that the rest of your bullet flies through cleaner air.
Okay.
So although you give up certain a little percentage of BC when you go lighter, or when you are limited on the length with monolithic bullets compared to a lead core bullet, you can still achieve good reliability and consistency through applying some of these other concepts.
Okay, great stuff. All right, thanks for that, Francois. So you've also mentioned that African game tends to be tougher with a heavy shoulder structure and vitals positioned behind the muscle. Why is penetration your #1 design priority?
So if you look at African game in general, most of our animals, if you look at a side view or cut out, you'll see that the major vitals, which includes the heart, big arteries, and both lungs, sits right behind the big shoulder muscle, big shoulder blades. And on bigger animals like blue wildebeest and kudu and all that, it's quite a bit of bone and muscle. And the best shot placement is actually right on top of the leg and not behind the leg, as a lot of us was trained. The reason we shot that with bullets at the time, it limited meat damage and also has less bone and things that can distort the bullet and change the trajectory. So straight line penetration is very important, so that when the hunter does his part and has a good shot placement, the bullet does its part and penetrates, but penetrates straight. Wound channel is obviously also very important, and even the way our bullets mushroom. So the brass bullet like this one will create a little bit of fragmentation, so it will fragment up to around there.
I'll show you guys
And
a photo of that.
these pieces will go make a little shotgun effect, highly effective to go through the heart and lungs, and also good for certain hunters that like head and neck shots, varminters and so on. But it also retains about 90% of the bullet weight, so that you can still get deep straight line penetration.
I'll throw up some photos of this for you guys as examples. It's very difficult to show you the,
Yes.
I mean,
So,
and
but on the copper, so
Yeah.
the flip side, the copper bullet is designed to make a mushroom. So both of them are very effective creating wound channels. So an animal doesn't die through shock or some kind of introducing all kinds of, a lot of beliefs out there, believes that a bullet will create enough shock.
that hydrostatic
That
shock.
hydrostatic, although it has an effect, but what kills an animal ethically is straight line penetration and cutting a wound channel. So even the way our bullets mushroom, it always retains a flat meat plate at the front, so that you can think of a boat's rudder. So if it's a flat meat plate at the front, it enhances straight line penetration. When it's skewed like this, it can happen if you eat bone or so on, but 95% of the time it will create a flat meat plate and create straight line penetration.
I did
The
mention,
bullet doesn't do this inside the body and
Yeah.
just fly all over.
because my previous video, I did mention about the ELDXs that I shot, and also the reason why I'm really thinking about switching over to axe bullets, the Monolithics. The bullets just disappeared. My son shot his Impala straight from the front. We couldn't find the entry wound. We couldn't find the bullet after slaughtering. We even made jokes around the campfire that, I mean, it died of heart attack, you know? And the problem that I have there is, if that buck didn't drop right there, it would, if it ran maybe 100 meters, how would we find it? There would be no blood trail. That's where I think, if I think about it logically, the Monolithics is going to create such a large wound channel and it's going to be a through and through. So you're going to have blood spraying out both sides.
Yes.
And that makes sense to me. What are your thoughts on that?
So exactly that. So we don't like to talk badly about any brands, and there's a lot of benefit to certain brands, and you know, certain hunters prefer certain kind of wound channel or that hydrostock shock, what that you talked about. But the benefit of a monolithic bullet is that you will create an exit wound 99% of the time. And even on certain bullet designs, if you shoot it from the front, you'll still have an exit wound. It will have that straight line penetration. It will cut a decent wound channel and it will bleed. And you have a decent blood trail to follow. And that's just back to the high weight retention. So what happens with lead core bullets that we have seen in the past is that on long shots, they do really well because they stay together. Where sometimes when you get something at 50 or 60 meters and you shoot a caliber that has a high velocity, your impact velocity is too much strain on the bullet, and it basically fragments the complete bullet, will fragment.
Yeah.
A lot of time what will happen is there will be no weight retention that will reach the vitals. So you will have a mess of the shoulder or whatever that you shot over here, and you'll even find blood because it would have such a devastation in the first 2 inches of that bullet's impact.
But the penetration.
But nothing penetrated through the vitals. So there's nothing that will kill that animal ethically. So the ethicality comes in losing blood pressure, cutting off oxygen to the brain, and letting that animal die as quickly and as ethically as possible.
Yeah, no, I can agree on that. Thank you, Francois. All right, so Francois, that leads me into the next question. How does your design philosophy translate into dangerous game and big bore calibers?
Thank you. So that's a very important question, and it's been quite a topic where I took a lot of responsibility for, because when dangerous game hunters or even outfitters or professional hunters, they rely or they will stake their lives onto your product. So we have done quite extensive research and design and different philosophies, also working with some of the biggest outfitters out there, testing the bullets on everything from elephant, the big 5, big 6, a lot of giraffe, a lot of hippo, a lot of lion and cats, and each of them has a unique kind of aspect that makes the bullet more effective on certain of them, but there's also choices that's effective on all of them up to elephant. So the number one concept is that all our bullets from a 9.3 and upwards up to a 600 Nitro Express that we keep in stock is reliable feed. So even before the shot is fired, that is the most important aspect of dangerous game bullets, because when you need that bolt to work, you need that bolt to reliably feed. So that's why all our bullets is a round nose design, and it's also capped off with a ballistic tip, a polymer tip that will just enhance the roundness of it and make it more effective.
Easier to feed into.
Easier to feed.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, so that
if
is
you're in
our
that situation.
number one priority or aspect. Next one would be straight line penetration. So even before you think of ballistics and a hydro shock bullet or a cup bullet or a soft nose, the number one thing that you want is straight line penetration, because when things get bad in that situation, you need the bullet to do its job.
Yes.
So if the hunter did its part, that bullet needs to go and penetrate straight. So on full charges of buffalo and so on, also the heads move a lot and so on. So you need that straight line deep penetration. We have two choices on most of our bullet designs, but we also have various different weight choices for each of the big bores. But the two choices that we do have is we do a monolithic copper hollow point that will deform into a mushroom. You'll also have 95% weight retention. It will still create a flat knee plat and straight line penetration. Really effective on your dangerous game with thinner skins, lion, leopard, buffalo, even hippo, very effective on those. But when you go to the real thick skin animals, we normally promote our hydro cup bullet, which is a brass solid bullet, but we still made a little hydro cup in it for two reasons. One, to seat the ballistic tip to create the roundness for the
feeding,
reliable feeding. But number two is on impact, that tip will just disappear, and then it has a cup effect. And
that then creates it to mushroom. And
I normally explain to the guys, like, take your coffee mug in the swimming pool, open side to the front, and move it 2,000 feet per second. It creates a wave. It creates, it displaces mass. So there's a lot of mass inside any body, like a elephant or whatever. There's water, there's bone, there's muscle. And the moment you displace it sideways, it also cuts wind channel. It's like a really, really powerful pressure hose. Pressure washer. If you've ever put your hand in front of one of those, it can also cut. So that's what the hydro cup bullets create, and it creates very deep penetration. It will have full penetration through an elephant on a side shot. It will have, we have had buffalo where the outfitter sent me pictures of the bullet in the tailbone. So when they made
from a frontal shot.
A frontal shot on a buffalo bull that was a 458 Win Mag, which is not even a notorious deep penetrating round. It's not the biggest case. Normally have a muzzle velocity of around 2,200 feet per second, depending on your barrel length. and it was a full body penetration. And when they actually made their oxtail pot, they found the bullet in the tail.
Oh my goodness.
You can cut a little picture.
Yeah, I'll throw up some photos for you guys about these different bullet types that the Axe Bullets produce, just for your reference as well. And guys, please go check them out on their website. I'll throw the website up here for you. And if you're from South Africa, guys, please support local. Like I mentioned in the previous video, competition in the marketplace is always good for the consumer. It can only give us better products at better prices. So please check them out. Check them out at the website. All right, Francois.
Good.
I really like that creative example you used about the coffee cup in the swimming pool. I mean, that everyone can envision that and kind of see that.
Yeah, so the deep penetration of that bullet, we have had a lot of like even big animals like giraffe, full frontal shot, and then exit wound at the back.
Yeah.
So in certain scenarios, it's better to have a bullet that doesn't over penetrate that much, where a mushroom bullet will do better. In other scenarios, and especially on thick skin game, the deep penetrating rounds is very effective.
Good. Okay, Francois. So on the next question, the question that I've asked through and through on this channel before, the do-it-all bullet question. Is it realistic to aim for a true do-it-all bullet? Something that performs in competition and in hunting, or is there always a compromise?
Well, that's a good question, and I think it's relevant to most shooters when they make their decisions on what bullet to choose. Yes, reliability and availability is very important, but I believe there's a benefit to a do-it-all bullet, because I have hunted with many hunting partners in the past where if I always ask about the bullets.
Yeah.
Even before we started manufacture, we were bullet diggers. We had stacks of bullets from old PMP bullets, thousands of them, that we have, gathered over the years. So I'm always interested in what kind of bullet the guy is shooting. And I have had many cases where I see guys shooting in the hunting scenario, shooting animals with match bullets, which is something that can yield the results. It can still kill the animal, but it wasn't designed for that. It was designed for target shooting or for paper ballistics. Now people end up hunting with it. Okay, so I believe there's definitely a benefit in a do-it-all bullet that can, achieve match grade results, can shoot competitions like we are doing over here, can have effective ballistics at extreme long ranges even, and certain calibers, but that you take your rifle like that. Even a lot of guys like to hunt with the precision rifles. So you take that rifle like it is, your dope is right, the capability of the bullet. You've had a lot of opportunity to train with it, and you'll just be a more effective hunter.
It's something that I see quite a lot now. As I'm hearing through the grapevine and getting involved in more competitions, there's a lot of guys hunting with their match grade bullets, and that's something that I found very interesting. And I mean, if you start loading and you've done load develop, so you don't want to go through all that effort for different scenarios. And if I want to go hunting and if I want to go target shooting, if I want to do PRS or NRL, all that, I really want to look at that do-it-all bullet. And I think with the great BCs that Axe Monolithics showcase, and also the straight line penetration and the ethical hunting side of it, and also we can take these bullets out to distance, like we've proved here today as well. And so yeah, I really, from my side, I think this is going to be my do-it-all bullet in the future.
No, that's great. So there's a few tick boxes to tick. One would be availability.
Definitely.
Another one would be price. You need to be competitively priced. And then you need to deliver on the different ballistics, ballistics on the range and ballistics in the hunting field.
Yeah.
So we also assist every single client with world-class load developments. We've recently exceeded 5,000 load developments with our
Sure.
bullets. So we have really gotten it down to a T. You'll see on Facebook whenever someone asks a question.
We'll link that down for you guys.
A lot of guys will just reference us and be testimonials for us for the load development, the success that we've had with that.
That's also something that I've noticed with you. I've never had such client service from a manufacturing company, nevertheless a bullet manufacturing company like I've had with you. The assistance that you've given me as well for my load development on the different bullets. Well, I still need to, I'll stay tuned guys, that video is coming out soon. And then you'll see the process that I went through and also the data that Francois provided me personally on the bullets that I purchased from Axe Bullets. So yeah,
so based on a few questions, based on your own rifle, every rifle has a fingerprint. It doesn't matter, you can have 2-hour 308s in the set, exactly the same barrel lengths.
Yeah.
And they will shoot different loads. Not always, but they can. So that's something that my background, again, with a love for physics and engineering and so forth, really helped with the research to establish a method to be quite successful. Well, there is extreme cases. Out of the 5,000, I can say maybe 5 or 6 times where we had to take a bit of a different approach. Then we can also advise on ladders and different ways to shoot the ladders to still get the result at the end of the day. But our out-of-the-box system is about 99% effective. So yeah, we're very proud of that. So anybody can contact us on WhatsApp or phone me if I'm available. Then,
you're gonna get thousands of calls all of a sudden.
That's fine. And we will assist with the load development for Axe Bullets. Of course, I've helped other manufacturers as well, you know, but to be loyal to our brand and so
yes.
on.
No, obviously.
Yeah, but if there's someone that is really struggling, they can reach out to us.
There you have it, guys. Straight from Francois. Contact him directly. Now, I'll throw up an email address here for you guys, and I'm sure you'll be able to find all their contact details on the website. On that note, Francois, thank you very much for having this chat with me.
Thanks,
and I'm looking forward to the path that we are going to walk together.
Thanks, and thanks for competing here in the Axe Bullets Varkart.
Yeah. So guys, stay tuned for that video as well. Those piggies didn't stand a chance. Alright guys, Francois just pulled me one side. He wanted to add something about the vision of Axe Bullets. So over to you, Francois.
Yeah, so just a quick vision for us for the future. Obviously, we want to grow systematically to be able to provide the service that you've touched on.
Yes.
A big thing for us is to have the brand, the bullets available, and assist every client and make sure that once you have gone through the investment of the load development, the additional shots, the trips out to the range, that those bullets are available to you when you need them. So it's in my head, our vision is like a little snowball. So we assist clients with the load developments, and then we keep on, you know, supporting them throughout the journey. So we also have a great WhatsApp group where there's about 1,000 members at the moment, and we're very active on social media and hopefully more YouTube videos also to come.
Yeah. So guys, just to sum that up, Francois is saying he can almost guarantee bullet availability, but as I've heard rumors this week that Vitavuri, the N500 range, might not be available. So we cannot hold Axe Bullets accountable if you've gone through the process and all of a sudden your primers aren't available or your powder isn't available in your location anymore. But Axe has a commitment to produce and supply their bullets to you.